Is Elise Crannies.
Track and field fans, welcome from Eugene. Let's Run.com co-founder Robert Johnson live. I was going to say boots on the ground, but folks, I've got to admit it. I'll reveal the name of the shoe, the super shoe that I've been wearing. Vapor flies on the ground. I'm at the Graduate Hotel. This is the hubbub. I'm seeing star after star. Jacob Kaplimo. Excuse me, he's not here. Joshua Cheptegei. Let's an act of the day. Francine Sabo. Joe Klecker, Grant Fisher, Josh Herman, super agent. Everyone is seen. I've got the inside scoop from the press conference. I'll be sharing with it. Big news, though, that broke outside of the press conference with an Instagram post, was it, John? Elise Cranny is out of the women's 10,000 meters tomorrow. All of that and more on today's show. Guys, where should we begin?
Well, I'm happy you made it out to Eugene, Robert. This is your first time out there since when?
I think Google said I was here 6 years ago. It might be about right with my son being born.
The Olympic trials, 2016. That was really your lost trip out. Wow.
I'm not
That's
sure about that. Did you guys see that in the background? What's the famous tall Canadian 800-meter runner? Just ran right by me.
Marco
Marco
Aro.
Arop, Brandon
Nope.
McBride.
Brandon McBride, thank you.
Wow, Canada's really bringing it now, John. I mean, Canada actually does very good per capita, I think, in track and field. But Rojo, I'm glad stuff has moved on to the graduate because I was wondering if Hayward Field, $300 million bucks in renovation, if there was some media room there, or if you were at that. I mean, should I say it? The media stuff used to be at this sort of like dumpy hotel. Eugene is not known for its hotels. I mean, I think we can say that, right, John? No one has a place to stay for the World Championships. Actually, if you're one person and you need a place to stay, I have someone who's renting out a house or an apartment or something. He's friends with a guy at that place, Let'sRun.com rents, so I trust this guy. At least, so email us podcast at Let'sRun.com if you're looking for a place to stay in Eugene. But graduate hotels, those are very nice, Rojo. So I hope you're not staying there on the Let'sRun.com dime. I mean, I hope that you're just there for the press conference. Hope you to scale it down a bit.
I debated sleeping on the floor of the LAX airport last night. Half the security guards that I talked to said definitely do not leave the airport. The other half said you probably want to shower. Which do you guys think I did?
How much of a layover did you have?
About 5 hours.
I think you left because you said you debated sleeping on the floor, but
Yeah,
the fact that you debated it means you didn't
busted.
do it.
I'm busted. So, for those of you that are watching live on the internet show, should I share some photos of what we're seeing?
Share some photos. I don't know what you... Photos of what, Robert? Unless these... Like, if we're looking on your iPhone, I think we should just get to the running. I don't know what kind of photos you're sharing with us.
They have like the elevator has the stop pre sign and opens up. They've got Nikes all when you check in here at this hotel. It's pretty cool. I'm not staying at the Graduate. I'll be driving to Bend tonight to visit my cousin. But enough stuff. People have to listen to me talk crap. So I got here for the normal press conference. They had the world record attempt. There's 3 world record attempts tomorrow. They had those people up first. Francine Sabo in the women's 2 mile. Joshua Cheptegei in the men's 5,000. And Let's G'day in the women's 5,000. And then after that, they had Joe Klecker and Grant Fisher for the men's 2,000 U.S. 10,000 meter championship tomorrow. They did not have any women, and I'd already heard the scuttlebutt that Elise Cranny might be out, and maybe that's why they didn't have any women up there. Elise Cranny will not be running. We'll get to that later. But for the actual press conference, at first I was like, man, I flew out here, spent a ton of money. Is it really worth it? But oh boy, I'm so glad I came because you got to work the lobby. You got to talk to the agents. Although maybe you don't even have to be here to do it, because I went up to one prominent agent and he said, I just talked to Jonathan. John, did you talk to Valentin Tro or just text him?
No, we had a nice conversation because I wanted to know what was the deal with Letizia Mbekgide. She is making a season debut in the 5,000 tomorrow night, and she hasn't raced yet. Hence, she hasn't raced at all this year. But she's also making a marathon debut later this year. So I kind of wanted to know, she's one of the biggest talents in the world of distance running. What are her plans? Is she really going for this world record? I just kind of wanted to get the scoop. And Valentine filled me in and said, initially this was supposed to be a 1 hour run world record attempt. They then decided, you know what, she's been doing more speed work and training. That was like back in the winter. That was her plans. But training recently has been more speed oriented, so they figured they'd move down to the 5K. I was like, okay, but is she really in shape to get this record? You know, she does own it currently at 14:06.62. I do think that record's kind of on the weak side, and it could be bettered. But, you know, you need to be fit for it. And he essentially said, yeah, she's pretty good shape. We'll see, you know, how she feels, but they're going to set the pacing lights, I think, to give her a chance to get it. And we know from the past in these record attempts, she does like to slam it home over the last couple kilometers. So my guess is they'll try to shoot for a negative split. If she's feeling good the last couple laps, she'll pick it up, try and break the record. And essentially her plan, she's running the 10,000 at the Ethiopian trials next week in Hengelo. And after those two races, she'll kind of decide on her plans for the World Championships. That's what she's focusing on for now. Then she'll make a marathon debut later in the year.
Hopefully all y'all haven't signed off while John did a mono, what do you call it? I thought I was the one with the inside scoop from Eugene. So much of what John said is true, but I talked to Josh Hermans, who's kind of Valentine's boss. He likes to Valentine may be a little bit more honest than Josh. Josh may be more of the PR type guy. But I would say all three of the athletes were very confident. Gide said, I prepared very well. But she and Chapter Guy were always both saying if the weather is good. They were very, very concerned about the weather. And I will go to the Dark Sky app later. Really, really good news on that front. But other than the weather, they sounded confident. She hasn't raced. When I talked to Josh Hermans about it, about why they switched from the 1 hour world record attempt down to the 5,000. And by the way, I can't believe John just said he views that record as soft. 14:06 for 5,000 meters, and it's got some meat on the bone. That's how crazy women's distance running is nowadays.
Wait, let's go there right now. Why do we think this record is soft? I was just actually thinking the same thing, and I kind of viewed it that way. I'm like, oh, can they get close to 14? The number 2 time, John, is 14:11. So what am I?
12. Right? Oh, no, 14:11. Yeah, you're right. No,
Dababa's run 14:11. Almana 14:12.
Yeah,
so she's run 4.5 seconds faster than any woman ever.
Why do I think that? Tell me, at what point has Letesenbet Gide ever been the best 5,000 meter runner in the world?
That's a good point, Sean.
She lost like 13 straight 5,000 meter races until she broke that world record, and she's run 62:52 in the half marathon. I think she's clearly a much better longer distance runner. You know, you put Sifan Hassan, okay, she did go for the world record last year at Pre, but she was exhausted coming off the Olympics. But Sifan Hassan has run, 3:51 for 1,500 meters and 29:06 for 10K. I think Sifan Hassan, if you put her in peak fitness, she could have broken 14 minutes, so it'd be right around there. So I just think, you know, Gide is more, I view her strength more as the 10K half marathon, and I think someone like Hassan, or maybe even Gide herself, is capable of going faster than 14:06.
I mean, you do have a good point. She's never been the best 5,000 meter runner in the world. But
yeah, some good points there, John. So when I talked to Hermans about it, he said the main reason why they got out of the hour run was the Ethiopian 10,000 trials are next weekend. So that just, you got two big races back-to-back weekends. And he said the Ethiopians kept changing the dates. We didn't know what was going to happen. He said that he lobbied for her to run the 1 hour. Why? Because it's a rarely run event. He thinks it's a softer record and would be easier for her to get, even though it's a longer distance. But he said it was up to the coach. The coach went for the 5,000 thinking that's easier. This is actually two reasons. One, it gives her, he thinks that she'll recover better for a shorter effort, even if it's a higher absolute performance than the 1 hour run equivalent. And number two, which was an interesting one, she needs a fast time if she wants to run worlds in the 5,000. The Ethiopians normally pick the fastest people, and they're going to, it sounds like Herman says that they're going to let them double. So this is huge because we have not had the Ethiopians doubles in recent championships. So the news, the big breaking news is that I've read through the tea leaves is look for Letesenbet today, even if she doesn't get the world record, to run fast enough that she can double at worlds. So the 5 and the 10 at worlds should be stacked. That is big breaking news that you only get from spending
Rojo.
God, an awful lot of my money from coming out
Damn,
here.
Robert.
So,
See, I did have I talked about that sort of thing with Valentine because I wanted to know how they're picking their team, and he said they're picking the 10K team based on the trials results next weekend, but he thinks all the other events will be based on time. So that's big news for Gaudet if she wants to double. It's also big news for Salomon Barrega, who is running the 5,000 meters on Saturday, and I assume will be he's the Olympic champion in the 10K. I assume he'll be in the 10K trials next weekend. The issue is that Saturday's forecast looks a lot worse than Friday night. Friday night looks close to ideal for distance running. Saturday, it's going to be rainy, cold, and windy. I don't think it's going to be conducive to running a fast time. So, who knows? I mean, there's enough good people in that race that maybe if he wins it, he's still going to run fast. But that's the other guy I'm looking to see if he doubles because he did not get to double after winning the 10,000 in Tokyo last year.
Wait, you guys think they're going to pick the team up for 5,000 with the trials race or off of time?
Off of time.
Shouldn't they do it the other way around? It makes more sense to do the other way around. And one more thing. No one cares about the 1 hour run except Josh Hermans, it seems like. Do you guys know why? This is a trivia question for Robert.
Did he used to own the 1 hour world record himself?
Yeah, this is crazy. Are there people out there? I mean, I guess it depends on how old you are. Who view Josh Hermans as a runner? He broke the world 1 hour run twice, 1975 and 1976. He held it for 15 years. I mean, Mo Farah currently has the record, and he wouldn't even lap Josh Hermans in his last record. That's crazy. I just think of Josh as one of the top agents in the world. I don't think of him as a runner, but I guess that's just the thing with age.
I mean, well then, I'm sure most people think of you as the impresario of Let'sRun.com and not a guy who finished fourth at USA's twice in the 10,000.
Okay, guys.
Thank you, John.
Let's stop the slow roll. Let's get to the weather forecast. I personally, this is one of the highlights of my broadcasting journalism career. I'm talking to Josh. I said, everybody, what about the weather? And John, what I love to do, I love to show the Dark Sky app, and I whipped it out with one of the top agents in the world.
You whipped it out?
Yes. He's like, wow, I've never seen that before. The app is amazing. So, and look, the forecast for 9 p.m., I think, which is when the first world record's going off, or someone help me out there, but it looks like it's going to be high 50s, like 57, 58 degrees. Now, like maybe about a 10% chance of rain, so unlikely to be rain. It's a 5% chance at 8 p.m., a 13% chance at 10 p.m. So I'm splitting the difference, calling it, 10%. Very light winds, 4 miles per hour. The dew point's going to be like 50. I mean, this is basically perfect distance running weather. Now, Josh is like, oh, but they don't like to be wet, and they get their hamstrings cold and wet. I said, well, maybe high 50s is a little bit cold for Kenyans, but
none of these athletes are Kenyan, just
African runners, excuse me. And I don't think they're going to get any better weather than this. So right now, keep your fingers crossed. Looks amazing. For Saturday, John, what time is the meet on Saturday?
The first event is at 12:30, the men's 1500, and then
so
the TV
much
window
windier,
starts at 1.
9 to 12 mile per hour winds during that time frame. Gust of up to 27 miles an hour. Temperature is going to be fine, 58 degrees. And there's also a 68 to 71% chance of rain. So rainy, windy, gusty on Saturday. So get your fast time out on Friday night. So that was the good news. I did not hear, when I asked Hermans about the pacing lights, I did not get an answer for him for a good day. He said, we'll see. What did you hear from Valentine?
I just heard that they would set them in a way that the world record is a possibility. So, like I said earlier, I think it just means it'll be a fairly aggressive pace, maybe a little off of world record, and then she can pick it up if she feels good.
Okay, so that was, and Gaudet for the record said, I prepared very well. Moving on to the men's 5,000. Big news, folks. I know some of you people are not fans of the Bowerman Track Club, and I've got to reveal it right now for the first time. Grant Fisher has been exposed as a liar. Sort of. On his podcast, by the way, he wants me to hype the name of his podcast so he gets more followers. What's the name of it, John?
Did he tell you the name of it and you've already forgotten, Robert?
John, I've got so much in my brain.
Half Step Pod. It's called the Half Step Pod.
Half Step Pod. He said he heard a rumor that Cheptegei was not going to be going for the world record. So today they asked any questions instead of asking some question about like all these other journalists are asking like, what's it like to be a woman in your country, a role model? I asked actually a track-related question. I said, Joshua, there's a top American runner, Grant Fisher, who was fifth in the Olympic 10,000 meters. I didn't know if he knew who he was, but he has a podcast, and I'm like, well, I assume they have podcasts in Uganda. I didn't want to explain, like, do you know what a podcast is? So, and he kind of, I think I talked too much. He's like, what? I said, someone has said that you aren't going to be going for the record, and he discarded that. He said that he's in really great shape. And I want to say it's still on. So it's still on. And when I talked to Josh Hermans, he said that the pacing light will be set at 231 per kilometer. How sick is that? And that adds up to 12:35. So.
Wait, did Grant hear you asking this question about his podcast then?
Yes, he did. He heard it. He was in the back because he was coming up next, and he thought he was pleased that I brought up the name of the podcast. He was very disappointed that I did not bring up the name of it. I said, well, I didn't actually listen to it, Grant. I don't listen to your podcast. Jonathan Galt has assigned those duties. But he was pleased, and half-step podcast, folks, Grant Fisher. So,
Grant Fisher and Joshua Cheptegei, by the way, both former guests on the Let'sRun.com Track Talk podcast. So I'm sure Joshua, after his unforgettable appearance on our podcast in the summer of 2020, is very familiar with what a podcast
And
is.
if you're new on social media watching the show live, we have one podcast every week for free. We have a bonus podcast every Thursday or Friday. You get to as become a member of the Supporters Club. Let'sRun.com/subscribe. So if you don't catch us live, it's going to go away. But you can always catch it as a podcast if you go to Let'sRun.com/subscribe. So,
wait, Robert, I have a question here about this race, though. Did we get an answer from the meet organizers, from Cheptegei, from his agent, about why there are two sections of the 5,000? Because this is one of the most infuriating things about this meet, is we have Cheptegei going for the world record on Friday night, but then on Saturday, we have a separate section with pretty much all the other really good guys in the world. Mohamed, Berahu Aragawi, Solomon Barega, Paul Chalimo, Jacob Kiplimo, even Samuel Tefera is moving up. I'm mad that this is not just one section. Either put them all on Friday night in the same race, or just forget the world record attempt and throw Cheptegei in Saturday's race. Do we know why this is happening? Did anyone take accountability for this?
Well, John, it's just better. I don't know if it's better TV, but these guys aren't ready to go for the world record. They'll just get smoked.
What?
So you have one guy running way in front, and everyone's time trialing behind him. Time trials are actually kind of boring.
Well, you don't understand. There actually are a lot of guys in this race besides Cheptegei, including like the man, King Ches, will be running in Hayward Field. What if he breaks 13 and gets beat by 25 seconds?
So King Ches is in the world record? I didn't think about this. Wait, I hadn't thought this out, John. I apologize.
The guys that can't get into the fast heat, like Sam Atkins, King Ches, they're all running Friday night. So they're probably going to end up running faster than the guys do Saturday. I kind of asked Josh briefly. I didn't ask the meet organizers. I should tomorrow. Like, why do we have two? Josh said something like, well, it's just, that's the world record attempt. Then you have the normal classic. It's all about the pre-classic. This is just a special world record attempt on top of it. But I'm like, yeah, but I didn't want to get into it with him.
Was John Capriati at this? Is he the race director now, or he's co-race director? Is he at this press conference?
No, he was not. They had Josh Herman said, "You got to watch out what you say to these guys. They'll say everything. They'll print everything."
Well, no, Weldon, you're saying though, like, oh, well, these other guys will get smoked by Cheptegei. They're not ready to run fast. I'm not convinced by that. I mean, first of all, the second section. All the guys in the Saturday section, they're all stars. Like, many of them are real big stars. And if Cheptegei falls off the pace a little bit, I mean, he's going to get beat by those guys. If you watch what happened in Ostrava last year, he went for the world record in the 3,000, fell off the pace. The rest of the field wasn't that great, so no one got him. But if he falls off, he would get eaten up by those guys, I think. The other thing is, we didn't mention some of the better guys. There's Milkesa Mingesha, former World Junior Cross Country Champion, 12:58 guy. He's in this race. Daniel Simiyu, Kenyan, he's a sub-13 guy as well. I mean, they probably aren't in the, they're not going to be as good as Barega or something like that, but they're not chopped liver, and they're in this Friday race as well.
I can't believe King Ches has to run the B race on Friday. Just no love for what he did at Oregon. I mean, that guy, that guy is someone who like really would have benefited maybe or a little bit from name, image, and likeness. I mean, he poured his heart and soul into the University of Oregon, which indirectly means Nike, and then he was just tossed out like once they wrung him out dry. I mean, it's sort of crazy.
Wow, I wish I'd sat down with some high-powered people in the sport today, but I think everything was off the record. I didn't ask about that, but I should have.
Wow, Robert's talking to everyone. I love this, Robert. You're out here shaking
I thought it was a
hands
waste
and
of
kissing
time, and I
babies.
just started.
This is great.
When we come to the meets now, we should just go to the athlete hotel. Oh, by the way, I've got some Hobbs Kessler scoop as well. I almost interrupted Cole Hawker and just went into the lunchroom and just said, "Hey, buddy, I need an interview," but I didn't quite do this. So anyway,
this guy commentator Pete, who says, "I think he's implying Robert looks much better than I do." So I'm not really sure how accurate he is. He says, "Jesus, this is like watching Fox News." Now, I assume that's an insult, but I think Fox News is also the most highly rated cable talk program by laps MSNBC and CNN. So I'll take it as a compliment. I don't know what he's trying to say.
all right. So we talked about the 5,000 meter world record attempts. Both people trying to beat their own record. We don't really know how long the actual pacers will be able to stay on. Cheptegei did say that it sounded like he said that one of his pacers from the first race. This is how good you have to be. Like, it's a problem to get a pacer. Someone's like, it's 4:02 per mile. I don't know, how do you get pacers? They acted like the question kind of acted like Cheptegei found the pacers. I don't think it's his job to find the pacers, but he said, well, one of my pacers, and I think the people here thought that he meant that's going to be pacing tomorrow. I think he meant one of the pacers from the world record when he first got it. He's like, he debuted in the marathon in 2:04 recently. So, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. So maybe the guide's tomorrow. I don't know. But the third person is Francine Sabo, the intersex athlete going for the women's 2-mile world record. And she was very upbeat. She trains. I think she still lives in Eugene, John. It wasn't quite clear. They asked her about that. But Eugene's kind of her hometown. She said, I'm ready. I will give you a good show. And I asked her, hey, what's it like training? Like training for the 5 and the 10? Is it like how much more do you run? And she's like, everything changed. She's like, I had to lose weight. Am I allowed to say that? She's like, as a long distance runner, I need to lose weight. So I have to get up very early and I work really hard and I run twice a day. And she said she runs 30K a day. And I said, well, what about like when you're running 800? She's like, oh, very little, like 6K, 8K. So, or 8 or 10K is what she said, I think, per day. So she's tripled her mileage and is doing pretty well there. So she's ready to go. Other news that came up, Grant Fisher and Joe Klecker were both there for the men's 10,000 U.S. 10,000 meter trials.
Wait, 1 second. Can we stay on the 2 mile here, Robert? Please don't tell me you talked to Josh Hermans about all this stuff and you didn't ask for an update on one of his biggest clients, Sifan Hassan, who is making her 2022 debut in the 2 mile.
Okay, this is important right now. Go to the start list. Is she on it? Because she's not. Someone look it up. She's not.
She's on the one I have. I'm about to refresh the page. She's still on the start list that I see,
Okay.
Robert.
Well, then breaking news, folks. Someone played the sound. Beep, 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 beep. She will not be running tomorrow. She's out. So I asked, and he's like, what? And I know they pulled some people off the start list. He acted like I should know. I was like, oh, I didn't want to act like an idiot. So
wait, you waited 23 minutes to tell us actually news of note? This is crazy.
I thought they pulled her off a few days ago. The way he acted like it should have been happened. So she's out of the 2 mile.
Well, sure would have been nice because I just wrote a whole article this morning about how we're going to see Hassan. But like this is the previews I wrote, and this is how our sport works. I mean, look, maybe this is on me. I should be calling every agent to make sure every athlete is running every race.
Well, no, John. Should the meet directors?
A whole preview about Elise Craney's running for the 10,000 title. Oh, she's out. Oh, we get to see Sifan Hassan against Francine Sabo. Oh, she's out. A thing Mo. Oh, she's out. You don't get any explanation for that. I mean, I think some of this is on the meet directors to say, you know, all those big stars are promoted. Well, they're not running, and here's why. That would just be nice to hear instead of just mysteriously being removed from the start list in indeterminate time the week of the race.
People have been enjoying the articles, John, the fans on YouTube. David on Facebook wants to know about the weather. Just rewind it a little bit. We just talked about the weather. Looks amazing for Friday. Pretty shitty for Saturday. So, no, I asked him about Hassan, like what type of shape is she in? But he kind of was answering the question, acting like I knew she wasn't running. But Meanwhile, she's on the start list. He said that she was. He said the Olympics took a lot out of her, like probably it sounds like physically and emotionally, but like just emotionally even more so. And she started coming back, but had some problems. But he acted like whatever injury she had her in the past, and she's training well. So she'll open up when she's really ready to go. I said, "What is the plan for Worlds?" And he acted like that was kind of obvious that it would be 5 and 10. And I said, "Well, she did all three last time." So
Nothing's obvious with this on. She did the 15 and 10 at the last World Championships. I mean, I thought she doing the 800, 10,000. She likes to do crazy things. So maybe doing the normal double of 5K and 10. That's the true crazy thing.
well, I
because
said
no
that
one
I said,
expected it.
well, I guess if you go 15, you got to do Kipyega, and she's pretty good. But if you go 5 and 10, you're going to have a good day. And he pointed out, either way, it's all global sports.
Francine Sabo 5K and 10K. That she's not global, and she's going to be. I would say she's tougher to beat, at least in the 5K than Guide.
Well, I'm looking at ticket prices here. Trivia question for you guys and the fans out there. I want you to tell me the cheapest price to get in the door for the Prefontaine Classic on Saturday.
I'm going to say a seating ticket is $50. Standing room only 25.
Robert cheated. You must have looked. I looked up this morning. It's $50 is the cheapest one, right?
I had no idea. I just guessed.
Wow. I didn't even.
So-
I don't see standing room only, but that's dead on. It's $50. I'm sort of shocked. I don't know. I figured you could get in the door cheaper than that, but hopefully there's a big crowd. Looks like your Friday ticket does not. Saturday ticket does not even get you in for Saturday. The good news is, I don't think distance running is actually as popular as we think in Eugene. You can get a finish line seat on Saturday for $35, and you can get in the door.
Friday.
I mean, for Friday, and you can get in the door for $15. So there it is. The Let'sRun.com bargain of the weekend. Friday night, distance night.
I thought it used to be free. Now it sounds like they're really trying to do a lot. They're going to have they're going to. Sounds like kind of pumping a lot of kids on the people are going to be on the infield. They're going to have some sort of light show or video show, and they're going to try to set a world record. I don't know if this was a joke by Paul Swungard. I think it was real. They're going to try to set a world record for the largest game of Duck Duck Goose. Maybe I misunderstood that. But
Are they going to allow Yared Naguse, Matthew Centrowitz, and Cole Hawker in there to recreate my epic headline from last year's Olympic trials?
So a few more things that I learned from Josh Herman, the super agent. I did ask him about. I said, "Hey, what's Kipchoge doing?" He's like, "We'll let the race release that." So it sounds like Kipchoge's picked his fall marathon.
If it's not New York, this whole thing's a sham. I'm sorry. He says he wants to win all the majors. He's just going to go back to London. I guess I wouldn't mind seeing him in London either, but people in America want him to run here, right?
And it sounds. I asked him about my boy Bekele. I said, "Josh, you did New York and London, or what do you do in the fall?"
He did Berlin and New York.
Yep. I said you had to keep him running. You should have done Tokyo and Boston. He's like, I tried. Josh Herman with Kenenisa Bekele is like any parent with a young son or daughter. You cannot force a human being to do something. So he sounded a little frustrated. He's trying to keep him going. So hopefully we'll do something in the fall. So there you have it. Moving to the 10,000 meters for the women, or the men, I guess. Klecker was like, look, I was injured. I've never really been injured before too much. I think I'm really coming into great form. I was surprised that I PR'd in 5,000. He sounded confident. Fisher's like, look, I can gain confidence every day in the world. I train with the Olympic silver medalist. But don't sleep on Lopez Lamong. Lopez Lamong is apparently in shape, and Fisher specifically said, like, look, we're a team. Both he and Klecker just raved about their teams and said, when you're running 100 miles a week, it's hard to do on your own. So they said, like, look, there's four Bowerman athletes in the 10,000. There's only 3 spots. So one of us is going to go home disappointed. Now, Lamong does not have the standard. So you've got Sean McGorty with the standard, Woody Kincaid, and Fisher. Lamong doesn't have it, but his agent, Tom Roakov's like, look, you can chase the standard. So that wasn't the big concern. He said Lopez was in good shape last year. Remember, he got hurt. I asked Fisher, are you worried about Kincaid's kick? He said if Woody's there, he's dangerous with a lap to go. But he's like, he's a bit of a wild card. Sounds like he's in pretty good shape, though. So he says the team as a whole has talked pacing and strategy. Obviously, he would not reveal that. So there you have it.
Well, Lemong, I mean, we do know he has a big kick, but the last time he went out, he got beat by Sean McGordy by 20 seconds. He ran 27:39. This was at the 10 in March, and McGordy was 27:18. So I don't know. Is he still going to be there at the end? Like, are they going to go really fast because they think they're the strongest guys, or are they going to let it come down to a kick because they think they can beat everyone that way? I'm kind of curious. Like, if you were Jerry Schumacher, would you tell them, "Hey, let's try and make this a fast race and burn everyone off," or would you say, "Hey, we trust our kick. We're fine with any kind of race"?
John, who are they worried about?
I mean, Joe Klecker would be the best bet at breaking those guys up. He was an Olympian last year. He just ran 13:04. Emmanuel Bohr ran 13 flat indoors, which would have been the American record if Fisher didn't break it. So I think those two would be the guys I'm worried about, and then maybe Shadrack Kipchirchir or Connor Mance. I'm not really worried about those guys in a kick, though.
I'm not worried about Emmanuel Bohr in a kick. Maybe Klecker a bit, but I think in a fast race, Klecker and Bohr can both hang there as well. So I sort of agree with this guy, David Sherratt. Fisher needs to sit and kick, which I'm 90% certain he'll do. I don't see anybody wanting to just go serve as the rabbit. Sounds like Lemong's not going to chase the time. So I expect a moderately fast pace and then, kicking the final mile.
Well, then I would expect someone. I bet Mance will try to. Maybe Mance talks to Emmanuel Bohr and Shadrack Kipchirchir and says, "Hey, let's try to get the pace going, burn some of these guys off." Especially, maybe it's not fast enough to take Kincaid out of it, but it might be for Lemong. And I think Fisher. It's interesting to get on the team. I think he's going to make the team no matter what. But if he wants to win the race, I don't want all these guys hanging around. I mean, do you remember what happened at the trials last year? He got smoked by Woody Kincaid over the last 100 in the 10K. So Fisher's never won a U.S. title. If he wants to win it, I feel like going from a mile out, that's really his best shot at dropping Woody. Because if Woody's still there with 200 to go, Grant could be in trouble.
Yeah, I think if your fitness is better than everyone, you don't need to push the first 5K, push the last mile. You probably come out on top. But Mance, Bohr, all those guys, everybody but Lemong has the standard or not.
Yes, everyone we've mentioned to this point, apart from Lemong, has the standard.
So yeah, I think that sort of ensures, is somebody like I don't even know. I'm trying to think of a name who doesn't have this. Like, does a Robert Branch or somebody going to go out there and try to push the standard early and make the pace honest?
Yeah, I probably not. I mean, Sam Chalanger and Dylan Maggard don't have the standard either. Robert Brandt's not in the race, so could one of them do it? Maybe, but I bet now that you can chase, I bet they'll just kind of focus on racing and give themselves the best shot to finish top 3. And if they need the standard, you set something up, in the next month.
Robert, you're muted.
Let's move to the women's 10,000 meters. Oh, I forgot. There's also some other breaking news I forgot about. Remind me before we finish the show, folks, about Joshua Cheptegei's confession. 2 people heard it. I did not hear it. Big news. We'll get to that later. Women's 10,000. I haven't even seen the Instagram. I haven't had time. I'd heard the scuttlebutt that Elise Craney was going to be out. I went up to a BTC person. I said, "You guys need to get ahead of this. Some people are going to be conspiracy theories." Apparently, she's made a nice statement. What did it say?
Yeah, here it is. Unfortunately, I will not be competing at the USATF 10K Championships tomorrow. I haven't been feeling like myself in training. I'd love nothing more than to be out there competing for a spot on Team USA, but I just don't feel ready to compete right now. I have made the decision to shift my focus to the 5K next month.
And the people that think, everything's dirty are going to think this is some sort of dirty thing. If you're dirty, that doesn't make any sense. You're still tested all the time out of competition, whatever. She was running amazing, right, John? I mean, she just missed the American record. Am I wrong about that?
She set the American record in the 5K indoors, 14:33, and then she missed it by 1 second in the 10K in March, 30:14. She was going to be the favorite in this race for sure.
Yeah. Now, let me go here. To me, this shows you this is the perfect example of what would happen if you are a clean athlete and why I think the Bowerman Track Club is a clean team. I don't know what Shelby Houlihan's situation, but look, Elise Cranny was a super talent in high school. She didn't do much in college. Wasn't great. It wasn't a star, right? I mean, she was pretty good. And then now she's really reached a new level. She's training her ass off. She's obviously burned it a little too hot and is now backing off. I went up to the assistant coach, Pascal DeBear, and said, you got to try it. He said, we know what would happen if we put her out there. Well, I've been overtrained before I got a little bit anemic. I mean, I'd run like a.
What did you say?
You run like 8 minutes, like slower than.
I thought it was train 39.
Gotta mute my brother. I'm running like 8 minutes slower. I mean, I forgot what I ran in the marathon. It was like 10 minutes slower than what you should run. So if you're, 15 seconds a mile off what you should be running, 20 seconds a mile off, you're not going to make the team. You're just going to put yourself farther into the hole. So it's sad to see her there. But Carissa Schweizer, who has been out, Grant Fisher very much spoke about her. He said there was a lot of question marks about Schweizer. She had surgery in the off season. He thinks that she's been coming into good form and she's going to have a good one. So one BTC athlete is out, one is in, is the big news on the women's 10,000 meter news. I also have some news on Evan Jaeger, folks. I hope this wasn't off the record. They didn't say it was off the record. We need the professional. That's why I need John to follow me around to see like what is on the record, what is off the record. But he may run the Rome Diamond League. I hope I didn't get upset by saying that. That would be cool to see.
I apologize to all the fans out there for the unprofessionalism. For the regular podcast, I freak out about the audio. My microphone has been plugged in the whole time, so I was muted, but talking to my wife, and big week this week. And the whole family's got COVID. Now her sister, North Carolina, was supposed to go as COVID, so we're not going. But the big news is my wife actually just discovered she's turning 1 year younger than she thought for her birthday on Tuesday. She's very excited. I swear to God. She's like, did you know I'm turning... Can I reveal her age on here? Quick vote.
I mean, the age is irrelevant. I just want to know how does she not know how old she is?
COVID, John, COVID. And she's in her 30s. I mean, I'm in my 40s. When you're at my age, you want to forget your age, but she's a young spring chicken. So, I apologize. She'll be 38. 38 on Tuesday. Looking great, sweetie. Love you.
Okay. I said that was all about the women's 10,000, but it's not. Joe Klecker also spoke about his teammate, Alicia Manchin. He said, Alicia is crazy fit. She could probably be doing our workouts, meaning the men's workouts. Watch out for her tomorrow. She's going to have a great race.
Well, guys,
one
want
thing we haven't
here. This is what we do for meets like this. This is a U.S. championship. Going into USA's, we would pick the team who we think's going to make it. We'd forecast these things months in advance. The race is tomorrow. I need people here on the record who's winning, who's making the team. Weldon's probably, okay. I can see Weldon is bringing up my preview right now to figure out who's in the field. That's okay. I'm not offended.
No, I haven't had time to read the preview. Robert here. I haven't had time to read the preview. For the men, I think it's easy. Grant Fisher's going to win this race. I mean, he is the real deal. He's not going to lose to these guys. I think Fisher, Klecker, Kincaid. And I think it's going to go in that order this time. What was
Klecker beats Kincaid for second.
Although he's been hurt, might struggle at 10,000. It would be kind of cool if Lopez got on there.
It would be a cool story. It's a little boring, but I am picking the same team. That's the same team from the Olympics last year, but I'm picking that too, Robert. I'm saying a different order. I'm going to say Fisher, Kincaid, Klecker. But, I mean, I really think it's those guys, and I think it's McGordy. Those are kind of the four I'm watching, and, maybe Conor Mance is in there, but I don't know. McGordy beat pretty much all the other, and I guess Bohr, like, Emmanuel Bohr, why are you guys low on him? Like, I don't think he has the kick of those other four guys, of Fisher, Kincaid, McGordy, or Klecker, but you just think if no one's going to make it fast enough for him to be able to drop anyone?
Well, thank you, John. I was about to say, you guys want to make it interesting? I'm going to start ranting at the screen. I mean, how could you overlook Emmanuel Bohr? He's run 13 minutes this year. That's what people want on these sports talk shows. Emmanuel Bohr, you guys are racist. You're not picking him. But he might be my next guy, but I don't know. I probably should give him more credit, right? But he didn't do it last year at the trials either. So why am I going to pick him this year? He was running great last year indoors. Didn't make the team at 10K. So I'm inclined to go with you. I think Grant Fisher's going to win. It's sort of boring to go with Robert and agree with him. I'd like to see Emmanuel Bohr. I want more guys in the mix. I want as many guys in the mix as long as possible, just for the fans' sake. So, I mean, with Elise Cranny being out, I think there's a little more drama. But, I mean, one thing you get talking to the on people, and this is before Alicia Manchin even made the team last year. Ritz was like so bullish on her. You're like, man, this guy really, it's almost sounding like he thinks she can be a superstar. Then she makes the team. You know, this year she's made the cross country. Monson's out. I mean, excuse me. Monson.
Cranny's out.
Cranny's out. So I think I'm going to go with Monson, right? But we haven't had any love for Wayne Colati. I think it's Monson, Schweizer, and Colati, right? Who else do you guys have for your third?
I have Emily Infeld. I think she's got a better kick than Wayne Colati. She's been coming into pretty good form under John Green, and we know how much Robert doesn't like coaches in their 30s. So with a coach in their 20s, I mean, he must just be on the total warpath here. But I see it a little differently from you, Weldon. I see Monson's really good. It wouldn't shock me at all if she wins. This, to me, is a battle for two things. It's between Alicia Manchin and Carissa Schweizer for the victory, and then it's between Colati, Emily Infeld, maybe Natasha Rogers as well for the third spot on the team. And Emily Infeld, when she's healthy, she hasn't been healthy for a while, but when she's healthy, she's made this team multiple times, 2015, 2016, 2017. She's run 31:08, a couple of years ago, which is her personal best. So I like her over Colati for the third spot on the team.
Wow. I mean, John, 2017, like, what's significant about that year?
She got sixth at the World Championships that year. I don't know.
That was 5 years ago. You're talking about she was running well 5 years ago. So it's like,
okay, but
cares?
she ran her personal best, Weldon, last year, 31:08. She was third at USA Cross. She did get beat by Colati at USA Cross earlier this year, but I think she's in a track race, and if it comes down to the last lap, I think she's a better kicker than Colati. I'm taking Infeld for third.
Didn't really. Who was she? She wasn't training with John Green last year, right?
No, she was still with Bowerman, I believe.
Okay, while you guys were talking, I was trying to look at some stats here. John, help me out here. Alicia Manchin was a DNF in the 10,000?
No, she was a pacemaker. This is the
Okay.
crazy thing is she paced Wayne Colati, who will be her great rival and will be racing against her in the USA's on Friday. She paced her at the track meet to get the 10K standard.
Yeah, Schweizer and Monson are going to make the team.
That shows you how confident she is, right? She's like, I don't care about helping my rivals get the standard. I know I'm good enough that I'm going to make the team anyway. I mean, that's kind of a throwing it all out there move.
What's your PB? What's Monson's PB in the 10?
Oh, it's not as impressive, but she hasn't really been able to get in a fast one. So, I mean, since she kind of made this leap. She's run 14:42 for 5K, which I view as much more instructive. But her PB is 31:10, which is, slower than Infeld and just a second ahead of Colati.
Remember, Monson ran herself in the hospital last year to make the team. I'm going to go with her for the win, Schweizer for second, and third's going to be Colati. That's my pick. Back to the men and that Bohr comment. Why are we discounting him? Yes, he ran 13.5 indoors. One, I don't think he's run outdoors at all. Two, last year he ran 13.05 indoors and was only 10th in the 10. He actually did better in the 5. He was 5th there. So it should be interesting. We should put up some polls there. I thought I had something else. So back to, I don't want to forget the breaking news that I was going to say. After the main press conference comes over, someone's like, did you hear what Chepta guy said? And I said, no. And he said, I'm going to get it off, though. Wouldn't it be wrong? Yeah. He said someone asked him who his role models were. And by the way, he knows a lot about the sport in Uganda. Like he was going through all the people. Like this guy won double Commonwealth golds, and that inspired me, and this and this. And but he said back when I was in high school in 2010, when I was in high school in 2010, and these two people were like, how could he be in high school in 2010? He won World Juniors in 2014. But I guess you could be like a freshman in high school, right?
Yeah, he was born in '96, and you were 14 when you went to high school, and it's theoretically possible.
So people
I need to look exactly. You know, I always get mad about people 1 year old or whatever, but that adds up. Not knowing exactly when he was born in 1996.
So that was what people were trying to speculate about. He looks young to me. Just throwing it out there.
Wait, that's the secret that Joshua Cheptegei was in high school in 2010. This is like the big thing that you teased earlier.
Two people thought that he slipped up and let it be known that he's an AIDS cheat. Two different people. Now they were standing next to each other, so maybe one of them told the other.
Wait, hold on a second. If he was in high school in 2010, so he turns 14 in September of 1996. Sorry, in September of 2010 he turns 14. So he might be a year young. If he was a freshman in high school in the fall of 2010, you know, that means he's turning 14 at the very start of the year. He might be young for his grade, Robert.
Well, that's what they're saying, though. They're saying that birth date's not correct, that it's really a year or two older. Do you understand what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, but like that's the opposite of the problem. Most people are worried that they're making themselves look younger than they actually are. And in this case, they're arguing that he's actually older than he's supposed to be. Or have I just totally twisted?
I think you got the math completely backwards.
Yeah. I'm losing my mind here.
I'm looking in Uganda because someone's pointing out in the UK high school can be from like 11 to 18. In Uganda, there's lower secondary, which is grades 8 to 11, and upper secondary, which is grades 12 to 13. So, John, check your Western privilege, okay? Thank you very much. All right, guys, do we have anything else? We got to save some stuff for tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think we'll talk more about the Saturday stuff. I mean, when we do this show again tomorrow, we won't even have the world record attempt. So, if you're just joining us now, world record attempts Friday night. That's on USA TV Plus. So you got to have a subscription to watch. Saturday, the big meet. It's on NBC. It should be huge. So all you need is an antenna, if you guys know what those are. But we're going to do the show again tomorrow because there's a full another press conference tomorrow for everybody running on Saturday. Yeah, Rojo, some final points. We got to get this thing out.
Final points, recapping. If you're just joining us, the three people going for the world record all seem to be in good shape. The weather's going to be. They were very worried about the weather. In reality, the weather looks like it could be ideal and perfect, near perfect. So that's really, really exciting. Some BTC drama. 1 star is out, at least Cranny, but 1 is in, and Carissa Schweizer. So it should be a great day tomorrow night here in Eugene. Until tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Robert Johnson signing off.